Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Miller. And this is the Gaming Dialogue News. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants, and everyone watching us on a variety of different platforms worldwide. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Indeed, thank you for supporting my channel. And most importantly, thank you for supporting our charitable fundraiser here on my channel, supporting Mind Charity in Britain. And thank you for your postings, for your messages, for your likes, follows, and shares. It helps. It is giving us a lot greater publicity and it is drawing attention to the charity. So hopefully we are going to be able to raise some funds. Just remember that when you listen to the podcast, it's all done here in order to provide some charitable fundraising for Mind, and therefore we want to have as much attention, as much exposure, and as much support as possible from our community and also from other people perhaps who are elsewhere. So, how's everybody doing today? It's been a very nice day, very sunny day out here, and I have to apologise for not being able to deliver the news yesterday. I've been very tied up with various things, and today we are going to have a double whammy, a double bill of the news here, and I think you are going to be enjoying, as we are going to be hearing some very, very important news coming from the industry, I guess in response to what we're expecting with Big Showcase events, with the Summer Game Festival, with Microsoft and Xbox presentations, as well as all the other ones that include Ubisoft and everyone else. So, one way or the other, we are going to be giving you the news which are literally hot off the press, and some big ones coming in view of some of the releases that are coming our way next week. So first of all, how's everybody doing? How are you guys? I have been very busy, and I've got to say that some of the games that have been coming my way did actually occupy me quite a bit. I thoroughly enjoyed them, and as you've seen and heard, I have been playing some of the games of late here on my Xbox and PlayStation, and that's in addition to Destiny and everything we do here. So just very quickly, I will tell you that I carried on with Tomb Raider, the Definitive Edition. I really find the game to be amazing, really absolutely incredible. I never thought the game was as good as that. In fact, I asked myself today on Twitter, what was I waiting for so long? Because the game's been released in 2013 and I had it already for probably 5 or 6 years, and I never played it. So it came to Xbox Game Pass the other day, and I've been able to try it straight away on cloud, and love the idea, the opening. Very similar, I have to say, to the one I've seen in the sequel as well, albeit in the sequel we get her suffering in a plane crash. In here, it's like a major catastrophe for the ship that sinks, breaks apart, and then they end up on the Japanese island. Everything in this game is incredible, I have to say. The one I'm playing at the moment is the remastered version, and that's been released, I think, in 2014 or so. And oh no, must have been a little later than that. I beg your pardon. It's the Ultimate Edition, which has been remastered, and the graphics are state of the art. The atmosphere in there is mysterious, very, very deeply, incredibly deeply immersive environment with so many different dangers lurking from behind and everyone. So, we have Sunny in here. Hello, Sunny. How are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And our friends asking, what's good? Well, everything is good. I'm just doing my bulletin of daily video gaming news and presenting our viewers and our followers with some of the things I'm doing at the moment, as well as everything that's coming our way on the wire from the industry. So it's like a rundown. It's a new format. You've seen and heard some of that previously as I was doing my regular Destiny and Warzone streams, but I had separated different sections. So I have my gameplay delivered in a separate section, and then we have gaming news podcast and just the podcast, which is based on various topics and subjects. So, somewhat different format and structure that I think has been quite well embraced by our community. People have been listening to the news on YouTube and various other podcasting platforms, as well as on Twitch, and we've had some people come for the gaming sessions as well. Although I have to tell you, Sunny, I've been quite ill of late, and that's the reason I've not been doing any of my broadcasts on a regular basis. And my dad, who's 991, has been also quite ill, so I've been providing primary care for him for some time. So I've been just completely taken out of the equation and ready for it's about 8 months or so. I've not been able to do a thing, as in the course of last summer, we did have beta test for my charitable fundraising here on the channel, and everything went really well, and I wanted to carry on with this, but unfortunately I was prevented due to these health issues, and I'm also recovering from severe sciatica, which I developed, and that is something that's been plaguing me of late. I've not been able to walk and had to use crutches, and it's like literally almost like wheelchair bound, and it's getting better now with physiotherapy and medicaments and swimming, but I'm not still back to my kind of full strength. So it's been a very, very difficult year for me, and that's been preceded by 2 difficult years with my mother passing, losing about 19 different friends through COVID pandemic, and just the other day I've heard that one of my best friends from the British Film Institute passed away suddenly. So it's been a very, very difficult period. But anyway, I'm trying to carry on as usual, and I'm always very positive, optimistic, and upbeat, and looking forward to everything that we are doing. And also very, very good to see that our community and our members are always up and about, and when I have my streams, people pop in and say hello, which is always great. How are you, Sunny? How are you? How is everything out there in Amsterdam, in Holland? I was going to visit a friend a little while back, but he's now gone. He's a doctor, he's gone, and he works in Germany, and he travels every weekend back home, drives in fact from northern Germany back to Amsterdam, and then on I think Sunday afternoon he goes back, rented a flat there and everything. So I had to cancel my trip, and in here we've heard from Stream Elements giving us some diagnostics that our friend Sunny has been here for 3 years, 5 months, 17 days and 2 hours. You can see, Sunny, how precise this is. These algorithms are just amazing. But Sunny joined us as we were doing Warzone and Apex during the pandemic, and we became very good friends. And Sunny is one of the dedicated community members, also somebody who really enjoys playing FPS and PvP, and we had lots of great games. Have you been in touch with any of the other fellas? Have they been at all in contact with you? Spurs and Carter and Paphos and all the other chaps. Spurs told me that because I had kind of paused on my Warzone streams, they all just went separate ways and they did different things. Some of them had children, and they just moved on. So the regiment and the regular streaming sessions or the combat was not really present here as much as before. But we still keep in touch, and people still pop in and say hello. And Sunny says everybody is still playing the same game. Well, that's fantastic to see. It's great to see that the regiment is still up and about. And Warzone had changed maps. Warzone had been, I guess, molded into something else. I was gutted to see that Verdansk, my favorite map, was gone. But at the same time, just like other games, it's giving us lots of different options. There's several maps, there are death matches, there's battle royale, there's various other things, and it's all good, really. I will reacquaint with the crew, and I will get back into the squad, but I will have to be really working on all of this being, off the ground yet again. It will take me a bit of time, and it's a lot of work, as you could see. And I have to really set up a new mini studio for recording, because I don't do everything now on my consoles. I've got a PC setup, and you probably can hear that I sound a bit different compared to what you get on PlayStation. And Sunny's saying they're all really very much into the game still, Warzone that is, and Verdansk will be coming back. Yes, that's right. I had some news from Infinity Ward and Activision of late, and that's in view of very many responses from community members. Many of us were writing to them saying that we really didn't like this to see Verdansk disappearing, because it was a wonderful map and we got used to it, and we played it obviously many times, and it's just no big deal for them to keep the same lot of maps available. And I think similar to what you've seen in Apex, they will rotate these maps at a time, like a seasonal occurrence, or you'll have some sort of like a period in which you are going to be able to access certain maps, and that they want people to play as much as possible, and then later they'll migrate. So I think it's been working really well for Apex. Apex has been massively enhanced. You know, the graphics are state of the art, the gameplay is really top notch. New legends introduced. They just actually kicked off last week with a brand new legend, and I'm really quite curious to see how this is going to work. And lots of people still in our community, you know, play Apex every single day. I get messages, you know, people ping me, the direct messages that is, asking me if I want to join in, and really good fun. So yeah, that's the way it's been really with me. Very unsettled, and my dad's a bit better, but still requires a lot of care. You know, he's 91, so it's a very, very advanced age, and was very unstable health-wise last year. So I really, you know, me being a medical professional, health professional I should say, I have been at hand really to help, and it was very difficult as I had to be providing the care 24/7, literally 7 days a week. And initially, when his health deteriorated, I was not sleeping well because of that. I had to be awake at night, you know, for him not to be getting up and everything. And that's about 4 to 6 days on a trot. I didn't have proper sleep, and that really was costing me badly. My immune system just collapsed, and I developed sciatica, which I never had before. I'm a tip-top, you know, military fitness type of guy, and it was dreadful. The pain and the immobility and everything else was just beyond words. I mean, I couldn't do a thing. It was just beyond words. But fortunately, that's all behind me. And physio and all else, you know, I managed to get it back to some degree of normality. Still not 100%, but with physio and with swimming and, you know, regular exercise twice a day, it's getting back to that degree. My left side was just completely dead. I couldn't. Not that I just couldn't walk. It was paralytic. It was just like unbelievable pain. I mean, I never thought that sciatica was as bad as that, but obviously I've gone through it now, so I know what it's like, and would not like to wish it on the worst of my enemies. You know, it's just terrible. But hopefully everything will be okay. I'm just a bit shaken the other day after receiving the news. I was actually broadcasting and received these messages as I was broadcasting from my BFI colleagues who just received news that our friend, who was the former member governor of the BFI, suddenly passed away that morning, in fact. And he was also quite old. He was in his late 80s, just about to reach his 90th year. And, you know, it was just a devastating news. I knew him very well for very many years, a very good friend. And he actually helped me to be elected as the member governor as well for the BFI. That's the British Film Institute. I did not win it. You know, I stood like the election, but I didn't get in the end, but I came second, and he was the one who was like the force behind the election and everything else. So, you know, it's been difficult times, but I guess we all come to a period where lots of our friends pass away, and you know, Sonny says he says that I am learning to speak proper English, and I open up your stream. Well, thank you most kindly. Well, you've seen that's when I have my chums with me. When we do the regiment, they all speak with regional accents and dialects. You know what I mean? They speak like somebody from south of England, somebody from up north, somebody from Midlands, somebody Geordie, somebody Liverpudlian, and it's a bit like watching, you know, football pundits. Listen to Steve McManaman and Joe Cole and then Rio Ferdinand. These guys, they all speak like regional dialect. And, well, I mean, I guess I generally hear from our European friends that they find it difficult to understand people from Northern Ireland or from Liverpool or from Newcastle. And that's just the way, you know, there's chaps speak. It's the accent, it's the dialect. I tend to speak kind of with what is called King's English or the Queen's English in the past. So, you know, it's just as clearly pronounced and as articulate as possible. Well, I'm trying. Correct me if I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm just completely wrong. Maybe I sound like one of the other chaps. You never know. Anyway, so good to see that Sonny's here. Maybe Sonny can tell me what games have you played of late? Because I was just about to tell our viewers. You know, I go through a motion of telling the viewers first of all what I'm doing, like what games I'm tackling at the moment. And I've got to say I'm a bit snowed under. There are lots of titles coming in on PlayStation Plus and on Xbox Game Pass all the time. They compete at the moment, those two services. So I have like at least a dozen games per week, which I need to try. And then I tell the viewers about them, and tell the viewers about all that's going on. And then I give my views on the games and the way I'm experiencing them, the overall gameplay, ins and outs, and sometimes a bit, if it's a big title, even for the indie titles, I say a bit about the way the game was made, where it came from, what the developer was, all these kinds of different types of bits of trivia, which are generally very, very popular. And I kind of tend to focus on the games which are a bit more obscure, that people have not heard about, because I feel it's very important for the indie developers to get some of our support, so that we can certainly provide them with some exposure, and for them to be receiving some degree of recognition. Making games today is extremely difficult, as you've seen in the industry. There have been many redundancies, there are many threats emerging. I have to say, I'm really astonished. I just read about the Immortals of Amiens. They were employing like 150 people at the company that made the game, and this was to be one of the AAA blockbusters. A game that was, I think, costing $80 million to make. It looks absolutely pristine, tip-top graphics and everything. And then the game was really scheduled for a wrong date, as it was clashing with Starfield in particular, the biggest release on Xbox, and that release killed it, and they didn't make much money. The game was selling badly, and also they had special editions offered on $70. Actually, the basic edition was $70, I think, and then special editions were $120 or so. So because the game didn't sell within the first, I don't think it was just even a few months, within the first period, few weeks, I guess, they immediately laid off quite a lot of the staff. So it was like 30 or 40 people laid off straight away. And that's really very, very unpleasant type of news, as it's obviously performance, i.e. sales related, and it's been happening industry-wide. It seems to be like really cutthroat, and everybody wants to be selling as much as possible, as quickly as possible, and that's not always a probability. There are lots of different factors in there. People are waiting for big release and saving the money, or preloading it. I don't know. It's just lots of different factors which influence these kinds of procedures and sales. And I'm just gutted to see that so many people are losing their jobs, really, in this sort of climate. Sunny says, I'll wait till Rockstar Games finally drop their best-selling titles. Yeah, absolutely. Rockstar at the moment are working on GTA 6, and this game has been advertised, and they did indicate that it was going to come up within the next couple of years. I had some news the other day. I need to tell you exactly what the dates are. I'm not 100% sure. And, so many dates coming in at all times. Always have to resort to my notes to be able to give you correct details. And that's going to be massive. State-of-the-art graphics and new characters and all sorts. And there was something else that they were also working on. I'm trying to think. There was something else. There was another project kept under the wraps, I think. And so lots of news coming in from all publishers and developers. They're all trying to compete, and you have major presentations coming out this summer. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes out. But I want to ask Sunny about his regular recent games in addition to Warzone. What else have you had on your decks? What are you playing, and what are your current favorites? I'd be curious to hear. So maybe you can tell us. Just wait for Sunny to respond. I know that we have these ads cutting into our streams. I don't know whether you can do away with this, whether you can just watch the stream without ads, because I know people can sometimes pay for that, and they really keep throwing in lots of ads through the streams. It's just really, people lose audio contact with the streamer, which is really annoying. And right, so I can see that Sunny's saying something about Cell. I'm not sure what that is. I think probably I didn't get the full message. Right, so just I'll go back to what I began telling everyone, and this was about the games that I'm presently entertaining on my consoles. And the first big game I'm playing at the moment is Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, the game from 2013. Early on I said that the game was amazing. I just asked myself the question, what on earth was I doing to have waited so long, when in fact the game's been around for more than 10 years. But, you know, it's just one of those things. I bought it a long while back, 6-7 years ago, and I have it actually on Xbox and PlayStation in separate editions. And I'm just amazed, you know, I'm just amazed by the overall immersive quality, and the graphics are just second to none. Looks really state of the art. I don't know how they've done the remaster, but just really, even maybe the graphics are too razor sharp. I felt sometimes a bit dizzy with a lot of flashes that the game has, and so I can very highly recommend it to everyone, and I've been enjoying it every single evening. So I play about 90 minutes every night before going to bed, and you have so many different tunnels and caves and corners to explore, mysterious cities, very nasty enemies. And also what surprised me, I thought Tomb Raider was just like based on, you know, the game and graphic novels, but this is almost like a horror game. It's really brutal, and there are some situations where you have to be avoiding, between a slippery slope or where you're falling. You need to avoid different kinds of obstacles, and if you don't do that successfully, you get impaled, and brutally. So really, almost like in The Last of Us. So, you know, really very, very shocking. But on the other hand, as I said, very enjoyable gameplay, very good narrative, really good story, plenty of stuff to collect. If you like open world, you have loads of hidden items, so you've got to be really paying attention to where things are. Collecting, you know, scrapbooks, pages, sites of some sort of annuals, and many other items for your currency, which will enable your skills tree to go up, and, you know, all kinds of bits and pieces. So definitely very enjoyable. I'll keep you posted. I've gone through about, I think, 40% of the game so far, so fairly, you know, deeply in, and I want to complete the game within the next few days because Apex is waiting. I've still not gone in for the new season, and I have all the other indie games which have been downloaded, I've been telling you all about. And you know, Sunny is saying that I'll play old games and the finals, and then old Borderlands. Yeah, I actually heard the other day from the developer that they will be working on the new series of Borderlands. There will be new titles, because they thought the old series was really holding up well. And also, I think the you know, the add-on game, what was it called, with the new character, they all sold well, they're hugely popular, and they will be working on the new series, so everyone's very excited. No specific details given to us, you know, it's just like really sketchy, but they have confirmed, yes, there will be more titles of Borderlands coming our way. Right, so other games I'm entertaining at the moment, in addition to, well, I actually played Tomb Raider more than anything else, but Kona was the other game I've really entertained, and I found it to be very interesting, although with some serious hiccups. It's a game where you're playing a detective who's stranded in north of Quebec, in a very sort of woodland type of area of Canada, and you're stranded in a snowstorm, so you're going to be driving, finding different places, and then investigating each one of the buildings, and in order to resolve a murder mystery. But there are some items that are not properly marked, and they are required at separate locations, so it can happen that you drive from one to the other. It's an arduous journey, it takes a long mile, and then you realize, you've not picked up a magnet, you've not picked up wire, and you've not seen any magnets or wire in the other house. So that is a hurdle, and I don't really like that, because it means you need to be driving all the way back, extending the gameplay unnecessarily in order to find this, and then again, difficult to find just simply because these objects are not properly marked. The new game, Kona 2, came out last week, and I've downloaded it. I played that one as well. So, you know, it's a good game, but it does have some areas that require serious polishing up, and I think in the sequel they probably did exactly that. So I played also A Little to the Left, which is a puzzler, so I highly recommend it. So if you like puzzles, you can play it on cloud. Just pull out your mobile phone or tablet, and ideal for that sort of activity when you're traveling, you're stuck on a bus, or you're waiting for a train or something. Loads of puzzles, and you get lots of achievements and rewards. And then Have a Nice Death, which is a platformer, and really funny. It's like a really kind of a quirky little game with Mr. Death, who is the CEO of his own corporation, and he basically knocks on your door and he wants to take you away, and many people are resisting. So lots of bosses, lots of fights, lots of gloomy predictions, plenty of humor, very funny dialogue, and highly recommended as well. And also the game I played quite a bit this week, in addition to the blockbuster, is a small indie game called Little Kitty Big City. And I said to everyone, Little Kitty Big City is a bit like Richard Fleischer's or Tex Avery's cartoons from the 1930s, and very, very similar in the substance. You have this kitten that's basically lost the way and fell from a balcony, found herself now in a big city and needs to find a way back home. And as she prowls around the streets of that city, she comes across all kinds of friends and foes and animals and humans, and there are lots of adventures for you to have. Also, it's a game that has lots of achievements and plenty of tasks. So when you're doing it, you have lots of achievements quickly and plenty of tasks to complete. Some of them are quite difficult, others are really quite pedestrian. And what I like about it is there's lots of funny characters and weird or entertaining activities which you'll do with this kitten. Like, for instance, you need to be getting some food. So in order to do that, you need to be walking in between people's legs in order to make them stumble. And once they stumble, they can drop a sandwich, but most of the times they're dropping their mobile phones. So you can't eat those, and it's just hilarious, you know. Or there was one Cheshire cat asking the little kitten to destroy jars of jam which were placed at a market stall, because these jars of jam were making this Cheshire cat very anxious, and therefore she could not sleep. So you know, me as a little kitten goes around, destroys all the jam, all the jars of jam, and I go back and ask questions expecting answers, and then the Cheshire cat's not interested anymore, just falls asleep, and that's about it. So rather ignorant. Anyway, you find some hurdles and obstacles in the game, but it's very, very entertaining. And like I said, I'm here to support the indie developers. So just make sure that you're supporting everyone out there who is on Xbox Game Pass platform. The indie gamers have the regular showcase events, but just make sure you download or access them on cloud, you play them from time to time, because otherwise, you know, the services will cease and those guys will basically have no exposure. And in the same way as I'm supporting charities, I want to be supporting those indie developers, because they, you know, basically in the same league. We need them in order to grow, to provide services, to become like Bethesda's and BioWare's of this world. And that is something that we always cherish. We want to see that evolution, that development. But in the present day and age, the way the industry is today, it is a lot harder than before. So these are the games I'm doing at the moment. Okay. So let me just have a look, and let me just tell you a bit about the news that have come in during the last couple of days, because we've had no news yesterday. And as I said, there are some big releases expected. A big one is, well, announcements really that are coming from Ubisoft are related to the new Assassin's Creed title. And this title is called Assassin's Creed Shadows. And it will be taking place in ancient or old, so medieval Japan. So huge anticipation about the game and huge hype about it. So I'll tell you a lot about it today. And then the big title that will come out next week is, again, hotly anticipated, coming from a Ninja Theory developer. And of course, this is Hellblade 2, the sequel that everybody's been waiting for already for quite a few years. Fantastic concept art coming out of the studio. Beautiful trailers and clips. Fantastic gameplay. And yet again, beautifully developed, presenting you with a character who's suffering from mental illness. And it's interesting, today I think I've seen some postings on Major Nelson's, Larry Hrybb's Twitter. If you're familiar with Larry, he was for, more than 20 years, the lead Xbox presenter and PR manager. He basically did all the presentations and everything worldwide, as well as podcasts and various other things Xbox related. But he recently retired, and he had indicated in his postings that everyone who is going to be trying Hellblade needs to be playing it on the headset. And there were lots of questions coming in. Why? Like, what's the idea? And I've written a couple of messages in there telling people as to why. Because Hellblade is, I'd say, the only game I've seen ever made that tackles in the most realistic fashion mental illness and what it's like to be suffering from schizoaffective psychosis, where you hear voices which are disturbing at all times. And if you are to be listening to the sound, let's say on your TV or your sound system, you will not have exactly the same effect. Well, correct me if I'm mistaken, but when you use high quality headphones, it is so precise and the spatial audio that you're getting is absolutely terrifying. It's interesting because this game is not a horror game per se, but it does have the dimension of horror because you're living within the mind of this character, and her mind is absolutely terrifying. And so, you know, on one hand, I could say, yeah, if you want to play the game, go down this route, make sure you use your high-quality headphones. Or the other, if you're suffering from weak nerves, or if you experience some sort of difficulty, well, I wouldn't recommend that because it's utterly terrifying. It's like a lot more terrifying as a game than any of the horror games I played. You know, I could compare it with, I don't know, The Evil Within, or Resident Evil, or The Last of Us 2, or, you know, you could just name the whole selection. But this is something else. This is not a fantasy game. This is like something very, very real. And it touches on the raw nerve. In addition to that, what you really get from the game is that it is portraying illness, mental illness, in a way as it really is. So I thought when I played the first game, Hellblade, that I would just simply wake up, you know? I thought at the end of the day, at the end of the game, this was just like a never-ending nightmare, a psychosis. And then I wake up, I realize, hang on a minute, I'm suffering from this. I need to really get my head together. Not done that, although this is the idea. And they opened still a possibility for a sequel or prequel or any other additional titles to come in. And nevertheless, I think it's a great game. It's got, in the first one, plenty of bosses which you need to defeat, and the environment, similar to what you have in Lara Croft, is simply dazzling. It's mouth-watering. You just cannot, you know, relax up to a point where you just want to be devouring it more and more. It's so incredibly appealing. It's magnificently designed. And as I said, the most frightening element of Hellblade is the audio. And I have watched a documentary about the making of the sequel, which is now in circulation, and they talked about how they have worked on the audio. The audio is incredible, you know. So the audio director said, well, the difficulty I have is that I am Senua. I am the lead character. Because when I work through the audio, and when I create all these voices, I'm living in her head, and that's terrifying. And they really succeeded with this. So I'll tell you all about Hellblade in my next podcast. But today we'll just focus on Assassin's Creed, and also tell you a bit more about other news that I received, which indeed have been arising on the wire in the last couple of days. So let's just see, first of all, what we have on the wire. And my news all have gone now. And yeah, it's been all prepared here very nicely for everyone. I was just astonished by the sheer quantity. Yeah, there's one bit of news for Sunny in here. You were asking, well, you mentioned the Borderlands, but I just got the news about Randy Pitchford. And so he said, Take-Two CEO, you know, he is the lead character at the company. We've already identified many potential growth opportunities for the Borderlands series. And, you know, he says that they're considering lots of different options for the next selection. And yeah, I couldn't remember Tiny Tina Wonderlands, right? That's a spin-off of the Borderlands, and that's like a huge hit. And they said that they're considering all ideas in order to come up with the new title. And, you know, probably at a very initial stage, but it's all going to come our way. I mean, when are we going to have enough time to play all the titles? There's so many, and all of them are so good. Right, so there is the first information I received from Ubisoft was directly from the Assassin's Creed team, and they said they wanted to share some information on Assassin's Creed Shadows. And they said, we want to tell you that the upcoming launch of the game is more or less as indicated, and we've noticed quite a few questions arising from the community. And one of the questions was, will you be needing a full multiplayer and a full connection to the live server, i.e. internet connection 24/7 in order to play the game? And they said that they want to reassure everyone that Assassin's Creed Shadows, the next installment in the series, will not require a mandatory connection at all times. So you will be able to play the game without the internet connection. An online connection will be needed to install the game, but then you will be able to play the entire journey offline and explore Japan without any online connection. So initially, when you're connecting and downloading, you will have to have it in order to proceed. But then once you completed the download and probably registered with the Ubisoft account, then you will no longer need that connection. And they said that they're super excited to bring Assassin's Creed to feudal Japan on November the 15th. So that's not really that, long way away. It is within the next 5 or 6 months, and when the game releases, and cannot wait to show you more along the way. And that came to me from the Assassin's Creed team. I'm a member of various Ubisoft hubs, so they've sent that to me. And so like I said, the other bit of news, which is not Assassin's Creed related, also for Sunny, GTA 6 has been talked about, and they had confirmed the other day, I just remembered it now, that the release has been delayed until autumn of 2025. So they are going to be releasing, no specified date, but autumn of 2025. So it's probably about 12, 13 months, 14 months away from us. And they were targeting some date in the course of this year, so we're kind of considering whether to release it before Christmas or in November. But that's not going to be happening. They're really busy, and the CEO confirmed, that's Stor Zelnick, that it will be at some point in the autumn of 2025. Right, so more news coming in on Assassin's Creed, and we're all very excited. I just really have to say, I'm very surprised that they're launching so many titles in a series. You remember that they launched the one which was for Oculus, which is virtual reality, and that comprised activities from several titles. Then you had the one for mobile phones, and then we had Mirage, which is fairly short and has been very popular, beautifully designed. That Baghdad is just absolutely beautiful. And now we have Assassin's Creed Shadows. So it's many titles from the series emerging within a very short period of time, probably quicker and more frequently than anything else we experienced before. So we'll just quickly pick up some other. So they said that it will launch on November the 15th. I'll tell you all about the news a bit later, but initially I'd just like to give you a rundown on what this game is about. So you're familiar with the series. There are quite a few installments already, many titles since the mid-noughties from the original trilogy that just diversified and had many different titles that were taking place in many different parts of history. So basically Assassin's Creed, for all of you who have not played it, is an action role-playing video game, and it's very similar. Well, initially it was very similar to what you had with Splinter Cell. It's stealth. In fact, someone asked me the other day here, someone was broadcasting about stealth games, and I can certainly tell you that I got to love stealth games through Splinter Cell. I played Splinter Cell 1 on PlayStation 2 many years back, so that's more than 20 years ago, and just loved it. Suddenly, from the usual hell-raising of Half-Life, you were needing to be quiet and invisible. So it was a huge contrast, because I remember playing Half-Life for quite some time, and then Splinter Cell arrived, and the only thing you had to do was to avoid contact and to hide and to be stealthy, and then attack your enemies from behind where they couldn't see you or hear you. And that's one of the signatures of the series, and you will know from the recent titles, it was certainly a very, very important part of your activity. Maybe not as important as initially, but nevertheless it's still there. So you have an upcoming action role-playing video game. Again, it's developed by Ubisoft Quebec and will be published, of course, by Ubisoft. It'll be coming out on the 15th November of 2024. I said to you that there have been quite a few installments, and I got the number in here. This is the 14th major installment in the Assassin's Creed series, and this is the successor to last year's Assassin's Creed Mirage. And that title was definitely well received, and I remember watching the showcase last year, and I was just amazed with the beauty of the environment to start with. Secondly, I thought bringing it to Iraq was somewhat risky in view of the recent history. And then thirdly, I also thought the activity in there, the gameplay, was requiring a lot of training, because I find it very difficult to conceptualize how was I going to be able to do all the jumping, because I'm not really very keen on jumping in general, as you know from Destiny, and then master all the techniques which are required in order to neutralize enemies. It seemed difficult, I remember. Maybe that was just part of the introduction and everything they had during the showcase. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but it was looking fairly tricky. I've still not played Mirage, but definitely liked a lot what I've seen during the showcase last year. And then we have it's the first title to be included in the Assassin's Creed Infinity platform. So set in the 16th century Japan, and that is towards the end of Sengoku period. The game will be focusing on the millennia-old struggle of the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and you will know that they fight for peace and liberty, and also the Templar Order, who desire peace to control from the perspective of two protagonists. So you'll be able to play either of the protagonists, right? You've got two different characters. Noe, a female shinobi, and Yasuki, an African samurai inspired by the historical figure of the same name. So really, interesting that you can play two different characters, and obviously two different characters also would belong to different ethnic groups. I think it's highly significant. You've seen in America that they really worked very hard on this, on the introduction of people who represent different ethnicities, both domestically and worldwide, and that is just a continuation of the entire, I would say, direction that some of the video game developers have taken, and I think that's great. It's definitely providing us with greater diversity, greater inclusivity, and that's all that we want to see here on Twitch and elsewhere. And the two characters control differently and provide a unique gameplay style, allowing quests to be approached in multiple ways. Well, that makes it very replayable, and I'm sure that our friend Sunny and everyone else who is very keen on these kinds of activities in Assassin's Creed will definitely enjoy that degree of replayability. That will ensure also the longevity of the game. So that's fantastic. It's just wonderful, and they really enhance the graphics to a degree where they're almost real life like. And I watched some of the footage recently. It's just really, I never thought I'd be able to live long enough to see that sort of quality, and I have been obviously proven wrong. So, one way or the other, we've come to the stage where the games are so rich and so vibrant and so great in numbers and so immersive that we can just indulge. And the game is going to be released on consoles and not on PC. Oh, no, I'm wrong. Actually, it will be released for Xbox Game Pass for PC, I think. It says here Windows. So if it's Windows for Microsoft and then Xbox Series X and S, so it must be entering the Game Pass arena as well. Not confirmed, so don't quote me on this. But it says here across the board, really, with all platforms. And similar, they said that similar type of gameplay to the predecessors. Primarily it's a stealth game, and then using all kinds of props, and you need to be collecting stuff for your inventory. You need to be upping your skills tree and just progressing down the route of having a full completion of the narrative. So going back, we've not heard until recently that it's going to be called Shadows. It had a different type of name, and you probably heard Assassin's Creed Codename Red. So if you're wondering what happened to Code Red, well, this is the game, and they just literally introduced another title, and then also they have another title which is planned to be its successor, and that will be codenamed Hex. But nevertheless, that is something that will be emerging in the future. We've heard that codename Red is actually called Shadows, so that's the game. That's that is it. And they're also telling us that they're entering a third period related to shifts in design philosophy and approaches to future games, and this is all together linked to the new concept they named Assassin's Creed Infinity. And we've seen that last year, well, actually, stand corrected, we have seen that just the other day as the game was being introduced and announced with its full title. And as I said, it should come out on November the 15th, and we have already some controversy coming up about the ethnicities represented in the trailer, and some people thought that perhaps this was insufficient, and they thought that adding another samurai character would not be advancing diversity. But I think this is just too premature. It's a trailer, it's a teaser, it's just something to bring you in, and you will be getting a lot more once the game is either out or once we get closer to the date. There will be more presentations, and quite certainly during Ubisoft presentations, part of Summer Games Festival, we are going to be hearing and seeing a lot more of the game. So that's really a brief rundown on what this game is about, and then I will give you some more news on the game. So, for instance, we had here coming from PC World that the Assassin's Creed Shadows reveal is saying all the right things to excite classic Assassin's Creed fans. That's coming from PC World, written by Morgan Park, and they said that they've been heard before, that sometimes they had high expectations and the game didn't really deliver in full. I really would disagree with that. I think the diversity and the quantity of gameplay and content offered to the series, in was it 14 or 16 title? It's a 14th or 16th title. Hang on a minute, I need to remind myself again. I really, my memory is not as good as it used to be, you know. Let me see, that is the 14th major installment, but don't forget they had some spin-offs and some subtitles. Yeah, I mean they had some other parts of the series which doesn't really, strictly speaking, come under the same banner. And I remember seeing some of those. I purchased even 6 or 7 of those a little while back, which do not fall into the same remit of you playing the stealthy game with the lead characters in there. Right, so where is my article now from PC World? They said that they are splitting Assassin's Creed 2 disciplines into 2 protagonists. So like I said, Noe, that is an agile shinobi with a hidden blade, and Yasuki, the historical black samurai who faces his enemies head-on. So they said most missions can be tackled as either character, so you can be probably choosing the character before you commence with the mission, but some of those will be also character specific, leaving it to the player to decide if they want to approach Shadows like an Odyssey-style action RPG or traditional stealth game. So depending on the character, depending on the situation, you can choose to play stealthily or perhaps to go in with guns blazing. Need to see really in the game. And so they're basically asking Ubisoft to clarify, that's PC World, and they're asking whether there's going to be stealth and open combat, will it have an equal focus? And they said, well, some of that's been challenged in Odyssey and Valhalla. It's been a turnaround compared to some of the older games. But you know, I played Odyssey and particularly Valhalla. I've not completed Valhalla yet, but I've gone deep into it. And I just think Valhalla is a massive game that combines different types of gameplay. It depends on the player, how you approach the character, how you build a character, what you want to be doing with her or him, and that is the way it's going to unravel. You can play stealthily, you can be quiet, or you can be engaging head-on. And depending on how you play the game, you will be building a skills tree and you will be doing all the other things that the game gives you, and you'll be progressing. And that really ensures replayability. You know, you can play as a male character, as a female character, and it's a massive game. It's a huge number of side missions. I remember playing it a little while back, and I was just astonished by how many things I was to be doing. Also, most importantly, what I really like about these games is they're historically accurate. So they're a bit like your educational guide. Odyssey, obviously about ancient Greece. Valhalla, about 8th, 9th century England. The way England was in those days, very different to what we have today. And as I said many times here, some of the activities that take place in Valhalla actually are located nearby where I live. So you know, it's in London suburbs. Obviously there was not, well, it was London at the time, called Londonium, but it wasn't a city of this size. And some of the battles take place not too far from me. It's very interesting for me to see and to engage with some of that content. And also Valhalla is so beautifully illustrated, so beautifully designed. The old England, you know, the nature, the immersive environments, the colours, tonight's cycle is just the best possible. I honestly I can't understand what people find wrong with that. But I guess it might be to do with gameplay, maybe to do with the story. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But you know, considering we have so many games out, people have become very particular. And tribalism is very present with some gamers, and I'm not that keen on that, I have to say. You've got to keep an open mind. You know, tribalism, like, I just play my games on my PC, I'm never going to touch any consoles. Why? You heard Phil Spencer, the chaps from the PlayStation. They said the future of video gaming is on cross-platform. We do not want to have any exclusives anymore. We're not going to be selling any physical products. So whatever the tribalism says, it will actually turn out to be wrong in the long term. So going back to what they said here in PC World, they said there's reason to believe Ubisoft is turning a new leaf. Mirage made good on its promise as a kind of a stabby game first. There was a lot of use of daggers and swords, and he said this was personally encouraging. And they also talked about some specific details in Shadows that basically are making everyone excited. So there has been an interview that the team were doing with IGN, and they are saying they're sticking to Shadows matters, and now you can snuff out light sources to create dark areas. There is a very great similarity to Splinter Cell, which I mentioned earlier, and that's Splinter Cell like light meter. Now it can go prone, so that's similar to Ghost Recon, and which is really good. You really want that character to be prone. You want him on the ground flat, and makes a big difference if you're hiding. It certainly did make a big difference to me when I was doing Ghost Recon, and particularly in the last installment where I could use mud and water to camouflage. It's just really great stuff, much better than in some of the older installments. And then no, it's not really that strong in an open fight, so similar to Basim in Mirage, so you got to be hiding in order to strike powerfully where the enemy is not expecting you. And then there's the grapple hook, so it's the swinging kind, it's not the zip line, and that will be also expanding. And then you have guard patterns influenced by the weather and seasons, so guards will find shelter from rain, for example. So it's very good. It's very much in sync with the way kind of real-time operators would have to do certain things, because you will be using weather conditions to your advantage, right? So if you know that some guard is going to be hiding from the rain, then you use that to your advantage. You'll attack them as they're trying to hide, or you'll go for whatever the shelter is, and so it's a very, very creative approach. And they said that less was said about Yosuke's combat forward playstyle. He will be able to do everything or anything with his swords, but I guess if you start out on the character that requires more stealth, there will be a stealthy progression throughout the game. So it gives you basically the choice. You can play stealthily, or you can go in with guns blazing. It depends on how you want to do it. And you can change characters, you make them male or female, and to the usual kind of customization. So that was coming from PC World. Let's see what IGN tell us. I'm really quite curious to see what they're indicating. And I had, they said Assassin's Creed Shadows has 15 developer support studios. So that's interesting, which means lots of studios have been involved in the production. And they said all of them have been connected to the main developer, which is Ubisoft Quebec. So listen to this. All of this is Ubisoft: Belgrade, Bordeaux, Bucharest, Chengdu, Kyiv, Manila, Montpellier, Montreal, Odessa, Osaka, Pune, Shanghai, Singapore, Sofia, and Tokyo. So it's unclear as to why the game needed so many different support studios, but I'll tell you why. It's an industrial production. It's like making a huge 200-300 million Hollywood AAA blockbuster film. They work in different studios that produce different sections of the film, of the game, and then put it all nicely together. It's similar to what they had with DC and Marvel comic strips in the 70s. One person would do pencil drawings, the other one would do ink, the third one would color, the fourth one would do something else, like the words and subtitles, and everything else would be done together and then put back together to come across as a cohesive product. So it's the same procedure, and obviously it is linked with costs. If you were to do everything in one studio, let's say in Canada or in the US, it would probably come across as a lot more expensive type of venture compared to that being spread out from the world, where perhaps there will be different prices attached to every single part of the game. So, several considerations to be taken in, really. And they said that the number of 16 total studios is one of the largest numbers for Ubisoft title ever engaged And Skull and Bones, the title that's not been that well received, although I played it and liked it. It was very good. It had the elements of other Ubisoft games, but it was reminding me of Sea of Thieves as well for some reason, although the actual gameplay is more aligned with Assassin's Creed than Sea of Thieves, but still a game that really caught me, and played it for a while on release. I thought it was very enjoyable, and had lots of negative reviews, I got to say. On the technical side, certain things didn't work. So they said, for context, Skull and Bones, another Ubisoft title, had only 11 studios working on its development, which was lasting for almost 10 years. Yeah, but there's a reason for that. They, similar to Destiny, they wanted to have the tech which is aligned with the idea, and the tech wasn't there, so the game was failing. The game couldn't deliver. And this is what's happened with quite a few games. We've seen a very unsuccessful release of Anthem that had exactly the same problem. The game was released far too early. Had they waited extra 5 or 6 years, the game would have been probably near perfect. And alright, so that's what they said. 15 studios involved. And we have a bit more news on Assassin's Creed here. Xbox Wire is telling us what the content is going to be like. And so they said they will be blending 2 distinct adventures into one. And Xbox team, that is the Xbox News team, talked to the game director Charles Benoit about the newly revealed Assassin's Creed Shadows. And let me see what he said. So we've seen all of that related to ancient Japan. And they said having 2 characters that would dig into the pillars of an Assassin's Creed game at once is certainly very, very exciting. So the director is going to be giving us some answers. So what better way to learn about the game but just simply to talk to the boss? So the question asked was, fans been waiting for a feudal Japanese Assassin's Creed for many years. How come that you released it today? Like, why now is the right time? And he said, well, after each new installment, we'll look at a wide range of possible settings and what would make the most sense for the brand between our past and future projects. We felt that feudal Japan was the best fit right now, with our 2 core pillars as the focus, combat and stealth. So you could see 2 characters, combat and stealth, and how it will fit the best with Japan's unique fantasies of the samurai and the shinobi. You're familiar with the code that those 2 types of warriors would have had in feudal Japan. And if you're interested in what this was like, then I highly recommend you to watch some films of Kenji Mizoguchi or Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa, probably the most famous Japanese director for samurai films, made quite a selection, one better than another. And Hidden Fortress, Seven Samurai, and Rashomon are probably the very best. So you can dig up those and you'll get to know a bit more about medieval Japan, and it will blend in perfectly with the new Assassin's Creed game. You can get them on Amazon Prime, or you can get them through Criterion Collection streaming services, or you can purchase them. Either way, you can probably buy them on second-hand market as well for, I wouldn't say next to nothing, because they're kind of art house films, but you will enjoy watching these films on your big television screen before you play this game. So Xbox is asking, this is a familiar setting for gamers, how does this game differentiate its take on the setting? And Benoit says, we are at the end of Sengoku era, in a turning point of Japan's history. So Assassin's Creed is well known for its depiction of the history and an accurate recreation of the world, and it's what players can expect with this game as well. It's very accurate, and I have to say, with the names of the kings in Valhalla, I was astonished. There was a massive amount of historic research put into the game. Everything was blending in perfectly. It's historically accurate, factual. Hardly anything was invented. So although it's a fantasy game, it's very, very close to what actually happened in those days. We're showing real historical figures such as Oda Nobunaga and a lot of events that happened during that time. So you're not playing only in feudal Japan, but you're also learning about this fantastic period of Japanese history. Well, you see, I think that the games like Odyssey, like Valhalla, like what was the other one? Origins, that took place in Egypt. These games have got a phenomenal educational capacity and potential. You can use them as a tool to teach people about this country's histories, and they've already done that in Greece. Some of the aspects or sections of Odyssey are being used in schools in order for children to learn about ancient Greece and in the Greek history. And I think that is what they need to work on, because games will also progress down this route in order to offer educational content. And what better way to learn about history of a country but through playing a video game? I can't think of a better way, honestly. And you can also make the educational content like a section which needs to be unlocked. So people play the game in order to do unlockables. Once they get the unlockables, they listen to them and they learn. It's the best possible way. I absolutely think it's the future. It's the future, and these games will have massive longevity for that reason alone. And so the director says we're also giving our players the opportunity to live out not just one, but the two best fantasies of Japan, and that's to be either the samurai or to be the shinobi. Got a picture in here of two of them. They look so incredible, so well designed, and one is Asian, obviously Japanese, and the other one is of Caribbean descent. And so they're asking, where in Japan is this game set? And I said, we chose the center of Japan, since most of the events around the unification of Oida Nobunaga territory were around central Japan and the territories within it. And the players will be able to discover landmarks and known cities such as Osaka, Kyoto, as well as hundreds of shrines and temples, which are still possible to visit in our present-day time. They said our aim when recreating this world was to keep the sense of scope while making our deepest and most intricate open world to date. Well, I'm quite curious to see whether it's going to be bigger and kind of more mysterious, maybe more explorative than the one in Valhalla, because I thought Valhalla was the biggest, the one I played so far. Mind you, Origins and Odyssey were close to the same, I think. But Valhalla for me was particularly interesting, I guess maybe because, you know, I'm here in England and the game tackles the history of my local area, you know, so it's definitely something that drew me in maybe more compared to the other ones. Not sure, but it just seemed like a massive big open world game, and everything in it seemed to be tip-top. And if you've not played it, go to either PlayStation Plus or Game Pass and download and play. It's absolutely amazing. Most highly recommended to everyone. So the other question was, what can you say about the story setup of this game? And the director said, well, I can't really tell you very much about it, obviously, but I can talk about the global structure of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And he said, we're introducing two protagonists one by one, and that is to help you know where they're coming from narratively, basically the background, the history, what their story is, and what leads them to collaborate. Just try to think what type of research is required. This is unbelievably great. To research every single detail historically to make sure it's accurate. It's extraordinary, you know. In the past, it wouldn't bother, but today, it just needs to be absolutely pristine. And they do exactly that, and I think Ubisoft is really excelling in that compartment. Once those two characters become allies, the players can pursue multiple stories. Some are personal to Yasuki and Noe, and some are basically around their common goals. So the worlds and the story structure open, and you can just pick the character you prefer and explore the world how you want, when you want it, which means you can switch between characters according to where you are in the game. And there may be situations in the game where you will be preferring somebody who's more gung-ho, and there are going to be obviously some environments where you'll prefer to go stealthily, so it's down to yourself. And just make sure you keep an open mind and you play the game as you should. So they said this is your first dual protagonist system, at least in terms of playing two different characters in one playthrough since Syndicate. You play Syndicate? It's Assassin's Creed Syndicate. What inspired that choice? So he said it came very naturally to us when looking at feudal Japan setting and what we wanted to accomplish in terms of gameplay. We want to have the shinobi fantasy for sure, since it's the best fit for an Assassin's Creed game. And the shinobis were the representation of stealth by spying and assassination, so it was really a great natural fit But at the same time, the samurai is the feudal Japan iconic fantasy, and we wanted to have like an experience for every player. Having only one character couldn't really allow that, be more restrictive, and this couldn't accurately fulfill these samurai and the shinobi fantasies, since both of these are coming from very different places in terms of the way to live, social classes and role in the Japanese society. So we decided to have two characters and uncompromised fantasies. Also, it was perfect to really dig into our brand pillars, stealth and combat. Mapping those gameplay styles onto characters will allow us to push their strengths more than ever, but also we'll be creating more adaptive challenges for each one of them. So it's just basically more choice, greater diversity in a very, very big open world. So this is going to be the biggest open world that Ubisoft have ever created. And you are going to be able to explore it with either of the characters, which means you can replay the game as many times as you like. It'll be always interesting. So really, it sounds amazing. Lots of people criticize Ubisoft for some failings in the delivery of Assassin's Creed, but I don't really understand it. It's been a fantastic evolution of the last 14, 15 years. They delivered regular titles, and each title had something new. It was always interesting. I guess some people maybe wanted to stick to the original concept, with just basic stealth, but the diversity which you're getting, certainly with the recent games, and that's Odyssey and Valhalla, and from what I could see here, as it's been described, is simply, for myself, truly astonishing and always satisfactory. And then Microsoft is asking, can you be switching freely between these two characters at any time? The director says, yep, you can switch between Yasuki and Naoi at any moment in the open world once they're united. Of course, it will not be accessible in the middle of a fight, so it's prior to the mission, of course, or an infiltration, but we're giving the control to the players to choose their own experience. There are a few moments where we are forcing one character, like during the introduction, the personal quest, few special missions, where both are present at the same time, but he said, I would say most of the game is totally free for you to choose. The photographs look really amazing, really very, very good graphics, and it really brings you back to the feudal Japan. With the samurai and shinobi, you're indulging in a true fantasy for fans. How will you let that fantasy blossom to the gameplay? It's asking. Well, they can have multiple aspects. Weapons, gear, and skills are specific to each character to really represent the key strengths of each fantasy. Naoi has the classic shinobi tools, and Yasuki has a wider range of weapons to pick from. Each character will have unique aptitudes. For example, as a shinobi, you're faster, more agile, you have access to a grappling hook, and you can be also more competent in other ways. Yasuki, the samurai, has great physical strength. He's the only one that can block and parry opponents' attacks, as well as being able to break doors and carry large objects. Both characters are unique in terms of playstyle, but also on how they see the world and how the world sees them. Kratos, for example, can stop and bow in respect to Yasuki, while Naoi will be more blended in with the world. Well, that's interesting. So it will be very important how you're interacting with these crowds or people that you're meeting through your quests. And then the question is, with the samurai and shinobi, it feels as though you're allowing for both kinds of Assassin's Creed games experience simultaneously, action and stealth. Is that the intention? And the director says, yes, of course, that's just one of the reasons. Assassin's Creed has been known for its stealth for more than a decade, and with the rise of the RPG, starting with Assassin's Creed Origins, the combat aspect is more and more present. Well, that is what people were objecting. But I think in this one, they realized there's been some discontent amongst the players about the stuff in Valhalla and in Origins and Odyssey, and they are giving you that choice right from the start. You can choose between two different. So that's really quite an experimental approach, and I'm quite curious to see whether it will work within the game, because you're having the same enemies, but obviously your approach as the protagonist will be different depending on who you choose. So he said, yeah, we want to make sure to fully deliver on both aspects, knowing that shinobi were known for their stealth skills and samurai were highly trained warriors. And then the question is about the new consoles and how will this game take advantage of next-gen consoles? What makes this a step from Valhalla and Mirage? And they said, we revamped our engine and tech to be able to fully take advantage of releasing on new-gen consoles and not cross-generation anymore. The improvements help us to push the quality of our visuals and create the most beautiful Assassin's Creed game to date. There's it's not just about better graphics. I'm just amazing. You know, Valhalla is beautiful. Mirage is worth watching. So what's this one gonna be? Like mind-blowing. It is not only about better graphics, but we are also able to create a full year systemic cycle where you can see the whole world changing in all seasons. So as you carry on throughout the game, the time, the space, the environment will be changing together with you according to what season you're in. You can revisit locations in winter, seeing the little pond now frozen, the bushes with no more leaves to hide. You see, it's funny. Sometimes you may not want to be taking a long cut. You got a shortcut across the frozen lake. Yeah, you can time it. The bushes with no more leaves to hide, some deep snow that can reduce enemy perception while you are prone inside, etc, etc. They also have RTGI tech to improve lighting, to push our stealth experience further by adding light and shadows into the mix. You can vanish in the dark, you can turn off lights and destroy certain areas to create zones of obscurity and then stay hidden at night. That's very important, stay in the shadows. Don't forget you're Assassin's Creed. You're not Assassin's Creed, you're an assassin. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. It's late. My brain shriveled, I apologize. Does this game return to RPG systems of Valhalla and past larger AC games? Well, director says, Assassin's Creed Shadows is an open-world action-adventure RPG, so we are on the continuity and the evolution of the RPG that were built with Origin, Odyssey and Valhalla. So it's an extension, it's an evolution from what we've seen so far. And I think Mirage is taken out of the equation for obvious reasons. We're taking the experience we had on those past projects and taking what works best and improving what can be better to refine our RPG experience. We're adding new RPG systems that will surprise everyone, such as the League that Naoe and Yasuke are building, but I don't want to tell you more about that. You'll find out once you step in. Well, I think that's all I wanted to tell you about the interesting news related to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And we have a few more news related to some other activities, so it's not really based on, I have actually something from GameSpot, and I have a picture on my Twitter indicating what the Ultimate Edition is going to look like, and it's incredible. You've got Ultimate Edition with a unique steelbook case, then you have Naoe's Katana Tsuba life-sized world map, Naoe and Yasuke statue, which is 40 centimeters, almost half a meter tall, collector's art book, 84 pages, Creed wall scroll, 70 times 40 centimeters, 2 Sumi lithographs, also fairly large. You have digital content, season pass, ultimate pack. You got more pre-order bonus quests, and you have also an early access to the game. If you purchase the collector's edition, you'll be accessing the game 3 days early. It comes in a very, very large box, and that is going to be fairly expensive. So just let me see what the price is. Probably about $150 at least, if not more. And so, you know, definitely already in the orbit. Let me see, is there price indicated? Yeah, it says here that if you happen to be a Ubisoft Plus Premium member, which costs you $18 a month, you will also have full access to the Ultimate Edition of the game starting November the 12th, and that's 3 days ahead. So if you are a subscriber to the streaming services, actually I was a member of the streaming services for a few months, and the services are very good. They don't have that many titles, but they're very expensive. You know, considering that on Xbox you get, what, 400, 500 games on the price of about £11 a month, and this was about 16, I think, pounds a month for only about 24 games, so a bit steep. But you know, people like Ubisoft and play The Division and Ghost Recon and Assassin's Creed, obviously will subscribe and they will have that benefit. Being able to play the Ultimate is always the best. I played everything which is offered on the Ultimate Edition on the Game Pass. I always loved it. Like, for instance, Gears of War 5, Gears 5 as they're called. Then you have now Tomb Raider, which I'm playing at the moment, and then several other Ultimate Editions. You know, it's a true joy. You had extra content. The Ultimate Edition of Skyrim, for instance, with all the mods included, so many mods, changes the nature of the game. And you know, you definitely want to play those if they're made available on your streaming platforms. So just let me quickly see if there is Yeah, there is. Well, obviously, I had massively underscored the Shadows Collector's Edition. The one I just told you about costs $280. So you get all the statues and lithographs and everything else in it. You can pre-order straight away. And then you have limited edition, which is costing $70, but doesn't have any of these sort of goodies and niceties that I just described. If you're interested in what this looks like, just head to my Twitter, hit on follow, and there is this posting from GameSpot with a picture and everything else that you need to know. Right, so let's see. So many news related to Assassin's Creed Shadows. You know, it's huge hype about the game. So we have news coming from Inside the Gaming saying that Assassin's Creed Shadows will work in the same way like AC, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and that they're describing the work that you'll be doing with two separate characters, because the only game that had some of that, but not to the same extent, was Syndicate. And as we described, you'll be able to choose in between the two of them. So lots of excitement about that. And then you had a premiere of that on the 15th of May, which was a couple of days ago. And it was premiered on Ubisoft YouTube channel. So if you're interested, you can either head to my Twitter, access the direct link to watch this playback, or you can go to YouTube channel of Ubisoft and find a section for Assassin's Creed and watch it there. It's just amazing. You know, it really, it's the kind of presentation you always dream about. It just keeps you so excited about the release of the game. You just want to say, well, hurry up, September or November, just come now, want to play the game straight away. And, you know, we have all this great news about Assassin's Creed, but then we get also some other news from Ubisoft indicating that the game they talked about for some time, which is called The Division Heartland, initially said to be offered free of charge, is now being discontinued. And they have discontinued quite a few of their projects, I have got to say. I received regular news from Ubisoft, and, you know, they work on a project for quite some time, and then they realize it's not feasible or it's not living up to certain standards, and they simply discontinue, and the game's gone. So you've heard about Tom Clancy's Division Heartland, and you know, that's been planned for some time, and they want to be, I guess, aligned with the games like XDefiant and Rainbow Six, but those two games are doing well, and this one's just being left on the back burner. So they said that they halted the development on the game effective immediately, which was a couple of days ago, and they want to be supporting Redstone Entertainment Studios. That's the team that created the Division series, and then they're migrating the same crews to XDefiant and Rainbow Six. I think XDefiant probably requires lots of maintenance. It's a, you know, kind of straightforward PvP. So it's similar to some of the death matches and all the other games that we are used to play when you are encountering other gamers in the arena, and they are on live service, and they certainly require a lot of assistance and a lot of maintenance, otherwise they don't work, which is always of concern. And just putting it back into perspective, the Division Heartland was first announced back in 2021, I remember that, and this was to be created by Redstone Entertainment. Then there were several delays, then had gone through multiple testing phases, and then they had a rating in Taiwan. So they thought, well, if they're already rating it Taiwan, they're trying it in there, so the release of the game is more or less imminent. But that's not materialized, and they had several projects cancelled of late. Mysterious Project Q, then there was the extension of the second installment of Immortals Phoenix Rising. You remember me streaming a bit about of that game a little while back. We had it on PlayStation Now services, and I was introducing quite a selection in the course of 1 month, all the titles that were being offered, and this was one of them. And unfortunately, Immortals Phoenix Rising 2 has been cancelled, so we are not going to see it at the moment, because, you know, they can always go back to it. It's not that the project's been completely destroyed, but they say it's cancelled. I mean, it means that nobody else is working on the project at present. And so these were the two that really have been cancelled, as well as the one I just described, and that is the Division Heartland. Just bear with me, and there's another one. The Division Resurgence, yeah, they'll carry on with the works on Resurgence, but I don't know what the reason for that is, you know, because they're really at the moment narrowing its focus on 2, internal game engines, and that's just allocated, I think, at 2 branches, Anvil and Snowdrop, and it is aggressively pursuing generative AI tech specifically with its NEO MPC program. Well, I don't really know. There's a lot of speculation about the closures being linked to the employment or deployment of AIs. It's hard to tell. It's just all new. We need to see what the implications are. I wouldn't like to speculate. And IGN is already speculating that the AI is the sole reason for this. I'm not convinced. All right, a bit more of the news. We heard that we'll have on PlayStation Plus, there are some new titles on the game catalog. And the biggest ones that we are really excited about are Red Dead Redemption 2. So this one's coming next week to the PlayStation's streaming platform. Then Deceive Incorporated, Cat Quest 1 and 2, and Watch Dogs. If I'm not mistaken, Watch Dogs is just an expansion. It is not the core game, because the core game we can access on the platform already. And getting back to this, Ubisoft wants to return to leadership in the open world. Well, we told you all about it. The CEO was describing everything in depth, so I'm not going back to that. And then let me see any other news that are not Assassin's Creed related. We'll talk about Hellblade tomorrow. Yeah, we've heard from Tango Gameworks, in view of the closure, that the final Xbox patch will be released on the following day. So the news came in 2 days ago, so that they're already on the 16th, so it's 2 days ago, the final update has been released. So you get it for PlayStation 5 and PC, PlayStation 5 and all platforms. And it's good to see that despite the closure of the studios, we are getting this update. I'm not sure exactly what it will do to the game. The game played perfectly well, and I played it on Xbox. But that's going to be the last of Tango Gameworks and Hi-Fi Rush for the time being. And just going back to Assassin's Creed Shadows, they confirmed that the map is roughly around the size that we had in Origins. But, I think still Valhalla and Origins, massive big maps. And then some speculation about what new games will be, or what all games will be brought to PlayStation from Xbox. They talked about 4 major titles. 2 of them are blockbusters. I heard Matt Booty and Phil Spencer talk about this a little while back, and speculation is that perhaps the Halo series will migrate. So I don't know. Halo has been always linked to Xbox right from the day one, but there is always a possibility. Maybe they want to lead the way with cross-platform access and multi-platform access. Phil did say that this is the future for Xbox and for all other developers and publishers, and I think if they start giving PlayStation the license for Halo and for Gears and for the big Xbox exclusives or exclusives from the past, then we'll see that the overall industry standards and policies have drastically changed. And I kind of look forward to that. I'm not that keen on exclusives. I always had separate platforms, but it just seems it goes against the grain. You talk to people within your streaming community and they'll tell you, well, we can't play Hellblade because we don't have Xbox. We can't play, I don't know, God of War because we are not on PlayStation. So, it's just a funny old game, but I think it's changing. Destiny 2, the final shape, will be resurrecting your very first gun from the game, and it will come your way as an exotic. I was very excited to receive the news. If you recall, when you started out in Destiny 1, you picked up the first rifle, which was Hostov. It's written as KH, and it's pronounced, like when you hear the name of the city called Kharkiv, it's actually written as Kharkiv. But that first K is not read, and with Hostov, it's exactly the same thing, the way it's read. Just a small tip, really. So Hostov rifle is the one that we'll be bringing back, and it will come in as an exotic, and I think probably will be attached to an exotic quest. And they said that they're resurrecting it in the finest shape, and there is a new look, and you can get it on various trailers and clips, which are published on my Twitter, also on Bungie's website and YouTube channel. And it is called Hostov 7GOX, and it will be one of the exotics that you are going to be able to unlock. So they're teasing a powerful ricochet round that can also shred through enemies. So it'll be quite a powerful automatic rifle. And this was a reliable automatic rifle for the first hour of Destiny back in 2014. And I shall just add, once they migrated the first selection of first year missions to the sequel, it was also present there. You were picking it up. But don't forget, with Hostile Rifle, there was also a mission in... Trying to think, there was a quest in Destiny 1 which wasn't taking place just right at the beginning of the game, but also later in the game. I remember Sekapupa and me doing it together. Can't exactly remember. You had to be picking up certain parts of this rifle in order to make it better, to make it more capable. This was one of the quests you would get later in the game, Destiny 1. So they said that the game, the weapon is coming to the final expansion, and you know, also it was having a remake in Rise of Iron, and no, actually, hang on a minute. They promised that, but to quest to unlock it was fun. It was going to serve as a template for other exotic weapon missions in Destiny 2. Players had to travel to the Plaguelands in the Cosmodrome, collect parts. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was just telling you about. And we were doing this, Sekapupa and me, a little while back. I remember that. Right, so that weapon is coming back in Destiny 2 as the final shape launches. So the other news coming from Bungie, which is somewhat worrying, is that Bungie's Chief Technology Officer, Luis Villegas, has left the company after 14 years. And guess what? He's joining Sony PlayStation. And he is joining as a senior executive there. He will be CTO for the content vertical. I'm not sure exactly what that means. But he had just released the news, so he's super excited to announce that I've taken a role at PlayStation as the head of technology, creative and services. It's a very, very senior role. It's a very important role. And it's interesting, as departing from Bungie, as Bungie are now very much part of PlayStation group of gaming studios. And he says, in my new role, I'll be PlayStation CTO for the content vertical, and will be supporting the amazing teams that make PlayStation games best in class. I feel incredibly lucky because as part of my new role, I will get still to work closely with my Bungie family. I want to thank everyone, and he's thanking here. So it's very interesting that there are people departing from Bungie, and there have been some concerns about this. On the other hand, being offered such a senior post for Sony is a huge opportunity. He's been with Bungie for 14 years, and it's just a sort of offer which you cannot refuse. If you watched The Godfather, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we have 2 new EA Play additions to the Game Pass. Let me see what's been added. And that was May the 16th. So yeah, I'll tell you more about the game tomorrow. The game that I really wanted to play and I really liked through the presentations last year was Immortals of Aveum. In fact, I mentioned it earlier in this podcast, and it didn't sell well, so it had a bit of a disastrous launch. There was some complaints about the in-game activity as well initially, but I think that's been patched up. So the game has arrived to Xbox Game Pass, and you can play it straight away, either on cloud or through your immediate download. I have downloaded the game, and that, after I finish Lara Croft Tomb Raider Ultimate Edition, is going to be my next big AAA blockbuster title. Very curious. I had a look at it, and I've got to tell you, it reminded me a bit of Dishonored. The opening. Maybe a completely different game later on, but the opening looked a bit like that. And I tell you a lot about the studio, because this is a new independent studio, and it's the first game they worked on and produced, and it didn't really come out right, or the way they expected. Therefore, lots of people lost their jobs within the first couple of months of the game's release. But the game is now accessible on the Game Pass, and you can also play it on console, PC, or cloud. So you definitely want to play it on a very big screen. You want to play it with your controller. I wouldn't recommend using the control. I don't know. I know that they are promoting the use of controller on your Android and iOS, and you can play lots of games on tiny little screen. But for me, gaming is all about the size, about being immersed in that world. Bigger the screen, the better. Before I purchased this 60-inch TV, I had everything wired into my LCD projector. It's a Sony projector. It's a cinema quality. It's a projector, digital projector that cinemas were using. It's a massive big picture. The only difficulty there is it's not as brightly illuminated as you would get it on a proper Sony Bravia screen. It's a bit darker, and that makes it very difficult for some of the games where, for instance, like Destiny or Tomb Raider, where you'd be walking through lots of dark areas. But the picture size is incredible. I remember Mass Effect and Alone in the Dark, and even during the PlayStation 1 era, I played them also on my projector. A very, very big picture of Silent Hill or Resident Evil was absolutely terrifying for many people. So, it is good to be catching up. Or, for instance, if you need to go to the toilet, or you need to nip out for a minute, and you want to carry on with your gaming, or if you want to be on a bus. And for me, the size of a mobile phone is just too small. Just too small for me. And that applies to any title, really. Although, by saying that, when I traveled recently on coaches, I did play some games on my Android, and the actual gameplay was very enjoyable. It's just small. Very hard for me to read the titles and everything. And anyway, just me. I even have a big headset which I need to try that has been built for that purpose alone. So you can be playing the games on your Android or iOS, and it's like a big helmet similar to Oculus. You put it on your head, and then the mobile phone comes very close to your eyes. And I need to still try it. I bought it a little while back. I still haven't tried it even once. Anyway, we'll get to that in due course. The second game arriving to Xbox via EA Access is EA Sports NHL 24, and that's coming to cloud, so you can't be downloading it. You can just play it on cloud. So these are the two games. Immortals of Aveum, I'll tell you all about tomorrow. So I'm moving on to some other information. And let me see, we have also another title coming to Xbox. We're just hearing about this. And what is the game? I guess what? It's the same game I just told you about. It's a first-person shooter. But it does have a good story. The opening, the prologue, is very lengthy, and it is very, very appetizing. Very similar to what I've seen in Dishonored, I have to admit. And then we see that the new patch, the new update that's been applied to Starfield is massively improving the graphics. And you are now ascending from 30 FPS to 60 FPS mode. That's really working out really well for everyone who is playing Starfield. I spent about 120 hours in Starfield. I've not completed the last mission because I was not able to fly properly with that ship. I couldn't eliminate enemies. And I need to spend a bit more time on my ship and doing some side quests in order to enhance its abilities. And then I'll complete the game. So I think after Immortals of Aveum, that will be my next task. Also, somebody asked me the other day, are you going to play female shepherd in Mass Effect at once? Because we've seen your Ryder, and that's the female protagonist in Andromeda. And they've seen my screenshots on Twitter, and I said, this Ryder is so lovely. She's so beautiful. She's so feisty. And I said, well, no wonder. That Ryder is my favorite customized character of all time. So I never had a more beautiful, more capable character ever. I'm really happy with my Ryder. So I said, yeah, we'll get back to that. I'll play a Mass Effect on a female character, but I'm not exactly sure at what time. As Mass Effect is a massive big game on the Legendary. You can play it for several years, and but I will play my Shepherd as female, I promise you. And I'll tell you all about it. I'll give you some clips on my TikTok and on Twitter. So just watch this space. Does anyone know what's the reason for PlayStation 5 to be discontinuing your Twitch streams when you're making automated clips? Anybody knows? Ping me a message. I couldn't really work out what the reason for this was. We had a couple of Twitch streams recently, and as we had very good activities in Onslaught, I want to take clips which are automated. You just literally just leave it for the PlayStation, as in any case it records everything, to cut out 2 clips of 30 seconds to 1 minute long. And every single time when PlayStation was remotely ending these clips, my stream ended. So it was crashing my stream. I don't know what the reason for that is. If anybody knows, ping me a message. I will greatly, greatly appreciate it. Right, let's see what else we've got here. All the news are just about Assassin's Creed. We've got like literally 50 different ones. Yoko Taro is working on a new game with Nier producer and composer. Let me see what that is. Have you played Nier? Nier is a great game. And Nier series creator Yoko Taro is apparently working on a new game with some of his creative team, but they will not reveal if it's a new Nier entry. Well, they're keeping it under the wraps, but it's good to see that he's busy. And I look forward to that. Nier was a great title. You are familiar with the news that Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut is now accessible via Steam. You can play it on your PC. And some minor problems I've heard. They asked for patch, but I think it is out and you should be able to download it at any time. And obviously, if you've not played Ghost of Tsushima, really, what are you waiting for? You've got to play it. It's one of the best games that PlayStation ever produced. And talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, why not step into the shoes of Ghost of Tsushima and play it for a few months and then step into the shoes of that Assassin's Creed Samurai or Shinobi? Why not? That will be the best possible prelude. They're not connected, they're not related, but the feudal Japan is present in both games. So what's happening to Battle Royale games? Apparently some games are being discontinued, and I'm not surprised. I thought it was a hot trend, and as with any trends, some games will be persisting with huge number of followers and gamers, and others will be dropping. And we have seen that the games like PUBG and Warzone and Apex had been thriving. They had many more new fans brought in, and they developed phenomenally well and constantly keep bringing new maps, events and everything, as you know, thoroughly enjoyable and constantly beefing up on new gamers, and many veterans stay with the gamers, although maybe playing it like in Destiny every single day, but several times a week is definitely the best bet, and indeed they are still very much linked with the games. So the ones which are not doing too well are games like H1Z1, which in fact was the first Battle Royale, then Warface, and then Battlefield 5, and they just simply couldn't wrestle with a very, very competitive market. So these games are disappearing, and the other ones are thriving. So I mentioned these three, but there are actually 6 games mentioned. So let me see the other ones. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Blackout, not doing well. Well, Warzone is doing beautifully. Battlefield 5 Firestorm, not doing well. And then we have Rumbleverse, never played Rumbleverse. And then we have Realm Royale, which is initially seen as one of those standouts in the genre, also not doing well. And I guess a demise is more or less imminent, as they're provided on live service, and the maintenance of these games is very, very expensive. So yeah, we've heard that Absurd Ventures are working on a new title, but they're not telling us really what the title is going to be. Absurd Ventures is a new company that's run by somebody called Dan Houser, and he was one of the co-founders of Rockstar. We talked about Rockstar earlier in this podcast. So let's see what else do we have. We have more news linked to Valve, and apparently the new game they're working on is similar to Overwatch. So this is going to be an Overwatch style hero shooter, and the veteran Valve reporter Tyler McVicker has confirmed that he has hundreds of people playing this new third-person shooter, which is called Deadlock. So it'll be interesting to see what this Deadlock is going to look like. And let's see what we have for you right at the end. We have GTA release date delayed to fall 25. As you know, Rockstar were talking about releasing the game later this year, but there have been some technical problems and they are looking for a better release date. You see, the difficulty for anyone who's releasing AAA blockbusters is they don't want to get into the trap in which, like Immortals of Avium, they release the game and 2 weeks later Starfield comes out and, you know, kills the promotion and takes all the accolades and brings in all the gamers. So therefore they have to very carefully consider what date for their AAA blockbuster will be most adequate, and the date then must not be clashing with any other bigger release. And I think they have been wrestling with this, as they had quite a string of very successful releases now for some time, and they will want to pitch it perfectly. But GTA 6 excitement, I mean, it's just massive. Everybody's waiting for it, and you've seen so many memes and messages on Twitter and people anticipating hammering the old games and redoing them and playing the remasters and then doing the wipe and doing them again. One of the most popular games of all time is really GTA. And then we have we'll talk about Destiny tomorrow as well. Let me just see. They revealed a new studio becoming part of Microsoft's Activision team, and this studio is called Elsewhere Entertainment. And this studio, Elsewhere Entertainment, is based in Warsaw, and they're working on a brand new AAA IP with The Last of Us, Uncharted, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, Destiny, Tom Clancy's Division, Far Cry Studio. Let's see what this is. Just bear with us, I suddenly lost this information. I apologize for this. Just sometimes the information just disappears, it's really annoying. Well, this studio, let's see. Yeah, it says that they're basically selecting some veterans from those other studios. That's like CD Projekt Red and Ubisoft, and they'll be working on a brand new title, but that's all absolutely, kept under the wraps. There is no indication what this title is going to be. And we also have heard that the PlayStation, that's the last news I have for you today, the PlayStation is going to have a massive day on May the 21st. And do you know why? I was shocked to read this. 34 games they will withdraw from the streaming services, and the whole series of Final Fantasy, I'm gutted about that, are disappearing from PlayStation streaming platform. I've heard the other day, and I said it here on my podcast, that the executive who represents Square Enix indicated Final Fantasy will be taking a completely new direction, and they will have a new strategy through which they will be both making revenue and creating new titles that will be more profitable, more up to scratch, more in tune with the times. And a few days later, we hear that the entire series is going to be pulled. I mean, honestly, I don't know what is going on. The question is whether Square Enix will be now migrating to Xbox, That's, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not fussed. I've got both platforms and I'm subscribed to both services, but, it just seems strange. And they said 10 games are coming to PS Plus Extra and 3 games are coming to the Premium. But unfortunately, 34 games are leaving. So that's a shocking bit of news. And let me just see the games that are coming to the services on May the 21st. I'll tell you what these are. So personally, I'm very excited about Crime Boss Rocky City. So that looks very similar to Mafia and to Payday. It's a crime game, and I really kind of enjoy playing some of these RPGs. Look forward to it. I've not tried it before. Really like trailers and gameplay I've seen on various streams and on YouTube. So Crime Boss Rocky City is the one that's arriving. Deceive Incorporated, Cat Quest 1 and 2. Quite excited about that one as well. Not played it yet. But then, obviously, a very big AAA blockbuster, one of the most successful PlayStation games, is coming back to the stream platform. That's Red Dead Redemption 2. So if you've not finished the game in the past, this is going to be your chance, and I'm going to be the one who needs to be finishing it, of course, and I've not completed it in the past, so really looking forward to that as well. Then we have Stranded Alien Dawn. We have the Lego Movie 2 video game. Then we have the Settlers, New Allies. We have Sims 4, City Living expansion pack, and then Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs is just an expansion, I think. Yeah, it doesn't state here in this article, but they already have Watch Dogs on PlayStation Plus, so that will be just an add-on. Right, so these are the ones arriving. So for myself, my sort of highlights are Crime Boss Rocky City, Red Dead Redemption 2, Stranded Alien Dawn, and then Cat Quest. But let me see what titles will be arriving to Premium. There's 3 titles. Well, one of them I'm really looking forward to. It's one of the first games I played on PlayStation 1 years back, in the 90s. And that game's called G-Police. Comes to that classics section. And you'll be able to access it through PS Plus Premium. Then you have 2 Extreme and then Worms Pinball. These are older games, Worms Pinball and G-Police. And G-Police is a shooter, but I remember what I really liked about it was it had absolutely perfect cutscenes. Some of the most beautiful cutscenes I've seen in video gaming at the time. So really looking forward to that. And just want to remind everyone, if you're on Premium, make sure you access these classic games. They have very many from PS1, PS2 and PS3 period, and you will thoroughly enjoy them. Just don't mind the graphics. They don't look great on present day and age state-of-the-art TVs, because the games have not been either adapted for the next gen or remastered, but still you are going to be able to access them without any difficulty, and you can play them with ease, which is fantastic after so many years. And then listen to this. 34 games disappearing from PS Plus Extra, and that's quite a selection, and it's a mixture of some smaller indie games together with some big titles. So Absolver Downfall, Abzu Adrift Ashen, Darksiders, the whole selection of them. That's Genesis, Warmastered Edition, Definitive Edition, Darksiders 3. Then you have LX1 and 2, Final Fantasy 7, 8 Remastered, Final Fantasy 9, 10-2 HD Remaster, Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Age, 15 Royal Edition, all of them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 titles of Final Fantasy series are disappearing from PlayStation Plus. Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition is disappearing, but guess what? I bought it and I've got it, so I'm not bothered. But still, it is going to hurt everyone who still wants to play that on PS Plus. And High to Survive 2, Joy Toon, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. It's a very good game. I'm Dead, Last Stop, Minute, Monster Jam Steel Titans, MX versus ATV Legends, My Friend Pedro, also a funny game. Observations Sundered, The Artful Escape, The Messenger, This is the Police. I also have got this game, 1 and 2, Disappearing, Wreckfest, and then World of Final Fantasy. I don't understand the logic. That's just the biggest, the greatest purge that I've seen ever since I started playing things on PlayStation Now Stroke Plus, ever since they introduced the streaming platform. So I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but these games are disappearing, and they will disappear in 3 days. So literally have no time to complete any of them, and need to see really what the reason for that is. I'll write to PlayStation and I say, hang on a minute, we are paying quite a lot, have a hefty premium fee for the top tier section, and so many games are disappearing, because 34 disappearing, and 9 games are coming in. It's a huge discrepancy. I don't know what the thinking is, but I guess the problem there is you have lots of games that are using the service and not many people are playing many of these. On the other hand, I can't imagine that people are not playing Final Fantasy, for instance, or Darksiders, and other games that I mentioned. I don't really I don't understand what the logic behind that is. Alright, my friends, that was the last selection of news that I did have for you today, and as you could see, there's been a lot to talk about. Presently we are very much linked to 2 very big titles that are to come out. One coming from Ubisoft, that's Assassin's Creed Shadows, and the other Hellblade 2. We talked about Assassin's Creed Shadows today at length, inclusive of that interview with the director and various other tips and other bits of trivia which are given you on the game. We talked about other news that have arrived, not related, but most of them linked to the streaming platforms of Xbox and PlayStation. And then we'll be looking forward to tomorrow, when I'll be introducing Hellblade 2, the sequel, and also some other news which are arriving, or I should say arising, from Microsoft and Xbox Game Pass. Many of those are very, very exciting, I guess, at the tail end of those unpleasant news which we did receive last week. So yeah, let's look forward to that. Let's think about those kinds of important games that will be again arriving to our consoles and PCs. Alright, I have to say I am exhausted. It's been a lot to get through. And tomorrow, in addition to Hellblade 2, we'll be talking also about This Week in Destiny. The article had arrived on Friday, so I'll be able to give you some news on what is anticipated and what changes we had experienced in the course of this week with our Destiny universe. We had lots of fun, played a lot of Destiny this week, several times live on air. Also, as you remember, these are my charitable fundraising streams. I'm supporting our British-based charity called Mind. So anybody who wants to get involved, just ping us a message or go to Tiltify through my About page and join the crew. Help us promote, share, like, donate, get involved, and therefore you are going to be saving people's lives. Remember that. This is no joke. This is a very, very important work. They're helping people who are fractured, who have broken minds, people who are experiencing mental health problems or suffering from mental illness. And they provide services 24/7 in our communities, everywhere in the country, 7 days a week. So very, very important services, and I want to support them wholeheartedly as much as I can. And I want as many people from our gaming community to be fully involved in every way. So that's not just through donations, it's through PR, shares, follows, discussions on various social networking forums, discussions live on air. We need to be more aware of how important it is for the gaming community to be supporting such charities, and therefore helping people and helping them to preserve their health and rebuild their lives. So just remember that when you conclude with this podcast, and you can go to my About page. All the information is there. You get panels, click on them, you get my stream, you get all the information about Tiltify, about Mind, about donations, everything is there. So please share generously. That's most important. The more you share, better it will be for the charity, and everyone at Mind will be very grateful. And most importantly, the service users, people suffering from emotional difficulties. So that's all for today. So thank you very much for your patience, for your attention, for, first of all, for you to be here to listen to my news, albeit delivered a bit later than usual today. And I wish you all a very good night, and we'll catch up tomorrow. We'll carry on with those big titles and everything associated with them. And yet again, just remember our charitable fundraiser, and make sure that other people keep coming in and supporting our effort here on the channel. So thanks so much for being here. Thank you for supporting me and my charitable fundraiser. I wish you all a very, very good night.